This Monday was a tough one for restaurants across the state. I spoke to a few owners on Facebook Tuesday who wondered if they'd be able to even survive this new shutdown. This is a tough one, of course, because reopening didn't work. There weren't enough masks, there wasn't enough social distancing, but there's plenty to talk about with our Line panel. Here on the screen with me is Line regular and attorney Laura Sanchez. Laura, thank you for being with us today. Another regular with me this week, Tom Garrity of the Garrity Group PR. Tom, good to see you. And over the phone, and a nice, beautiful photo of her, it's always good to have our friend to the north, Inez Russell Gomez, editorial page editor for the Santa Fe New Mexican. Inez, thanks for being with us too. All right, Tom, let me start with you. Restaurants say there's no proof that they're the key to slowing the spread of COVID-19. Is there any way to slow the disease without shutting down or further limiting restaurants? Let's start with the restaurant folks.
Well, from the restaurant perspective, it seems as if, that's the only sector that right now anyway is really visibly challenging the public health orders. Mm-hmm. I think that it's pretty interesting when you look at their complaints compared to what the role of the Economic Recovery Council is supposed to be. And I think that there's some optic issues that really need to be looked at by the administration, specifically the membership of the Economic Recovery Council. Restaurants are not that prominent there. And then you have the owner of a soccer team who is a member of it. And all of a sudden, they're being allowed to play, albeit out of state. Granted, everybody says that they're following the rules, but there's that optics issue that if you are closer through the Economic Recovery Council, perhaps your projects are, not quite scrutinized as much. I'd like to see a little bit more of a common ground be established between the Restaurant Association and the governor. I'm not sure, though, that the Restaurant Association just seems to have a burn the bridges kind of mentality. I haven't really seen that much of an olive branch to say, hey, here's some solutions that could work.
Right. Inez in Santa Fe, again, thank you for joining us over the phone. The new order gets around the gym in church question by requiring masks in those places. And how do you feel about that? That's an interesting one, especially if you're singing hymns, if you're breathing heavily from working out, and we know now how far this travels in the air. What's your thought on that?
It is definitely an interesting question. I know from having attended Mass a couple of times since they opened up again, they don't just require masks. They actually, at our church, they line up where you can sit. So there's enforced social distancing. They told the congregation, don't sing. The only person that does is a lector who's like 12 or 15 feet back. Right. So they're very clear about what you can and can't do. And until recently, they were doing communion on the way out the door, so you weren't even going up like normal. And there's X's on the church floor, how to stand apart. As for gyms, it does seem to me that you'd be breathing and exercising. But we know now more fully that masks work. Mm-hmm. Because if you remember the hairdressers in Missouri that had COVID and took care of all those people and exposed 149 people, yep. They were masked. None of those people caught COVID. The hairdressers, they just came out with that study. It's been published. The CDC published it in some scientific journal. That's why Robert Redfield, the doctor who's in charge of CDC, said, look, this really does work. 149 people exposed by their hairdressers, 2 hairdressers, no one got COVID, and their families were exposed and did get sick.
Isn't that something?
Yes.
When you think about how close a hairdresser is in proximity to somebody, it's a miraculous. I mean, 140 plus people, it's an amazing thing. Laura, I've got a question. I do want Inez to get back on this one too, but so far the state hasn't made an issue of visitors from out of state too terribly much. But for some of the folks in Santa Fe I've heard from, and Taos certainly too, the license plates in towns are from Texas, Arizona, California, all states with, big spiking going on. The tourism sector, the sustainability in this environment, how can we manage this? It's huge for our state. I think Laura may have dropped out. Inez, I would love you to pick up on that. Are you seeing lots of plates up there from out of state?
Well, I saw a lot of plates at the parking lot, and then I realized I was actually at the Hertz lot, which parks in a shopping center. So I had to rethink it. But we still are seeing a lot of plates. The thing of it is you can't think about a shutdown or a quarantine as hurting businesses, even though that's the effect. What's hurting businesses is the fact that there's a pandemic.
Right.
And if you look at history, when the flu epidemic in 1918, the cities that opened up more quickly, they actually suffered more economically than the cities that did not. So as hard as it is, if we shut down and take care and everyone quarantines and does what we know works scientifically, we're going to be out of this in 6 to 8 weeks, and then we can all get back to normal. The restaurants, had we not opened up a little too soon or maybe flaunted the rules, because people in Santa Fe would go to eat and they take off the mask and they wouldn't put them back on. You see?
Right.
So if we hadn't have done those things, perhaps the restaurants wouldn't be suffering now. So that's really the key, is do what works, do it for a long period, get aid to help people to get through, and then we'll be fine.
Right. Hey, Laura, I got a question. Are we just too political in our times right now to make any really sustainable progress here? The underneath question is that how scary does this have to be to get people to adopt masks, make good policy, and get serious about our behavior?
Well, unfortunately, it has become very politicized, which I think frustrates a lot of people. You can hear the frustration from the governor as well and the governor's office. But I think a lot of people that at least that I've spoken to and that I hear from often are frustrated that it has become a political issue. This is a health crisis, and I do think that there's a huge business impact, and that's something that we all should be concerned about. But it doesn't have to be a partisan issue or a political issue. It's really more about, just understanding how to survive in this new paradigm. I mean, we really have a very different structure. I'm not sure we're ever going to go back to whatever normal is. We're just going to have to adapt. And I think that we're able to do that, but it will take a lot of, I think, social pressure also. Because I have family and friends in other parts of the state, folks that I need to visit on a regular basis. My significant other is from Roswell. So going down there, you can see the difference. I think culturally, there are folks who don't wear the mask as often. And I noticed that in going just to the grocery store, whatever, there were just not as many people wearing masks as you see in Albuquerque, for example. And that's really a social pressure issue. And we have to all come together and sing from the same hymn book, if you will, because this is something that's just not going to go away. And we need to all, I think, bind together and hang tight to try to see ourselves out the other side.
Laura, I'll stay with you on this. We got to slip in the school opening plans. We had our meeting last night as we taped this. Middle of the week, we had a meeting. Our school board decided September 8th is the date. What's your initial reaction to how you saw the hybrid model rolled out?
Well, I found it interesting. They were in the board meeting for very long, very late into the night, and obviously very thorough discussions about the whole thing. I am actually on a charter school board right now, and we had a similar discussion early in the week about how we would be rolling out our reentry, which I find kind of funny being a sci-fi fan. A reentry plan is what it's being termed. But I think that everybody has to really think carefully about the logistics of these plans and what the impact will be on student learning first and foremost, because I think that we already have seen a huge impact on students. Even though we're trying to do distance learning, it just isn't the same as the kind of classroom instruction they were getting before. There's also a lot of gaps, I think, that disproportionately affect poor people, poor children of color, folks who don't have access to the same technology. And it's creating a gap, I think, in terms of learning. So what I found is that, September 8th seems like it's far away, but when it comes to teachers reporting back for in-service, it really is not that far away. In our school board meeting, we talked about teachers reporting back on July 28th. Now, this was before we learned of what the APS was going to do. But it will also vary depending on the school district, depending on whether charter schools are chartered through the PED or through the Albuquerque School District. So we're going to see, I think, a lot of changes still yet to come. And even though they've discussed September 8th as a target date, I still think that they're going to have to revise based on where we're headed and if we've been able to flatten the curve or not.
That's a good point, too. We appreciate that.